Hello, welcome back to our channel. This is Lex from the Lex Luthor system. Also co-fronting right now is Tanner, kind of in the background. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about system communication. So why is communication in the system important? And why do systems need it? It helps prevent that dissociative amnesia or lost time, you might be calling it being blocked out, etc. By communicating and having a trusting bond with each of your headmates, you're able to communicate needs and wants and emotions, so you don't have the need to block one another. Communication helps build a really strong trust bond between the host and other headmates and headmates with other headmates, etc. So how do you communicate? There's several different ways. If you are in the very beginning of your journey and just trying to connect in any way to a headmate that you have just now become conscious of, aware of, a great tool that our system used was journaling. I know it sounds cheesy, I know, but it's not the kind of journaling you might be thinking about. It's not pouring out feelings, emotions, or venting. It's like texting, if that makes sense. So what I did a lot, because I had a lot of headmates that did not want to communicate in the headspace or didn't know how to. What I did as the host, I wrote something in a journal and left it. And if I found something written there later, then great. Through this process, you're also able to kind of like identify if they have a different handwriting, identify if they can write, if they can read. Sometimes you don't know the age of a headmate, you don't know anything about them, you just are aware that there's somebody else there. If you get a response in your journal, continue to write in that way to get a basic idea of how to communicate with one another. Once you have formed a trusting bond and have tried to figure out how to communicate in the headspace, that's fantastic. That's a huge step. That sometimes takes a very long time to achieve, is that trust. And the thing to remember about headmates and alters is that they're individuals. They're pretty much fully formed. They have their own personality, they have their own emotions, thoughts, feelings. It's important to treat them like you would a friend, a sister, brother, and so on and so on. When I first started my journey, I was very negative towards the idea of trying to communicate with this person inside my head. I would rather deny that I dealt with anything like that than have to work at building a trusting bond and try to communicate. I wanted to stuff down anything that would make me seem different or not stereotypically normal. A lot of the time I would be thinking, I don't want to deal with these alters. I don't want to deal with this disorder. By saying I don't want to deal with you, a headmate, an alter, it can be a really harmful mindset. It's important to remember that they can feel that, and that breaks trust. It breaks friendships between physical person and physical person. If you said, I can't deal with you anymore, if that person's gone, they're not going to talk to you. They're not going to want to communicate with you. They're going to block you on all their social media. It's harder with alters and headmates. They can't yeet out of your head. You're kind of like stuck with one another, but you need to learn how to trust one another and how to be there for one another. It's important to remember that alters have kind of blocked the host out for a very long period of time and taken on abuse, so then the host did not have to. So remembering that this alter or headmate might have been dealing with much more than you, the host, might realize. It's hard because the alter is formed to protect the host and protect each other from that debilitating memory, so then you can function. You're in the same body. You're in the same mind. You're there for each other, and it's not the opposite way. As you grow older, it's important not to rely on your alter to protect you. It's important for you to be there for each other. That's how relationships work. A lot of you might be thinking,
well, I have a very difficult headmate who might be a persecutor, might be sending negative thoughts my way. How do I deal with them? I don't want to deal with them. Why would I want to communicate with a persecutor?
There's often a lot of things hidden or buried underneath this layer of tough guy act, this hatred kind of persona. Usually there's a lot of hurt and a lot of emotions underneath. It's important for the host to realize that that persecutor might be living as if the abuse is still happening every single day, because they can get stuck, especially if they have not fronted at all, or have fronted co-consciously, or have been able to communicate in the headspace. It's important with persecutor alters to be very open with your support team. By being open with a support system, you're able to get advice from an outside source on how to better communicate, how to better build a relationship. A lot of therapy for a lot of other people is just how to manage relationships with people at work, people at school, people in real life. So it's kind of similar, but not. To be able to be cohesive and to be a cohesive unit and work together, you need to have open communication. You need to be willing to allow that communication to happen. Once you get that willingness to listen and accept that you have this disorder, accept that you have headmates, then the journey gets a little bit easier because you're willing, you're listening, you're understanding. So we talked about communication kind of on the outside, journaling and waiting for a response. But once you are able to hear their voice in the headspace, hear their thoughts, feel their feelings, etc., how do you do that? Or how do you shut it off at times when you need to have a clear head or not have voices talking, like during a test, during a lecture, during a presentation? How do you manage that? For us, it took us a long time to form communication in the headspace. Number one, make a space for every single alter and tell them that they are able to put anything they want in there, whatever makes them comfortable. They're able to lock their door if they want to. They're allowed to have privacy. They are allowed to be themselves. If you just have one crowded space of a bunch of people, you're not going to feel comfortable. Where do you feel the most comfortable? In your room, right? For the most part. Or alone, being able to re-energize. By having their own space, that helps lift the spirits, make it a more positive headspace, more positive experience. If you need to connect or talk to that alter, talk to that headmate, do you know those playground phones? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the little metal things that you talk into and you can hear somebody from across the playground. That's what I'm talking about. Putting one of those in every single room. So if you need to, it's an open, you don't have to like ring ring or pick it up. It's just open so you can hear it. Putting that in the headspace. So we're able to communicate even if the door is locked. And then it's up to the alter if they want to respond or not. Or it could be from the alter to the host. Another great tool that we learned is putting a force field around the headspace. There's several settings. You can have completely muted, where you can't hear anything. Anybody can turn that on, off. Once you have respect and trust among everybody in the system, then you're able to agree when is a good time to mute. A lot of times we agree to mute the force field, so then we're able to have either one singular person in the front or two and be co-conscious. Sometimes we like a softer noise, so not quite as loud, not as intense. There's that level, so kind of a medium. And then there's completely open, which is what it was before. This technique worked really well for our system because we're very visual and we're able to visualize that, and we are able to see it in the headspace. We're able to see it in action. It also works better now that we have better communication overall and better relationships overall, and are able to be co-conscious with one another. All of this seems very like
weird.
It's little things that have helped over the years. And finally, I think the most important thing that you should do as a system is have either weekly system meetings or daily system meetings, just so that you're all on the same page. You do so when you work at a job. You all get together, you have meetings, so you're all on the same page. You're actually all working together, and you're able to communicate at that meeting and, you know, be more cohesive. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if there's any topics that you would like to hear about. Yeah, hopefully we'll see you very soon. Love you much. Bye.
Like I said, communication. Like I said, communication.